I I just started fasting today. I mean, I fasted yesterday, and I haven't eaten anything today, and I feel a lot better. Um, but for me, it's not the fasting; it's the overeating part that kind of gets me. And so, yeah.
I woke up today, by the way, in fully intending to not eat,
mm,
um, at least until late afternoon, but I got hungry. I would say overall, though, I've been doing pretty good with the diet.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, well, right now I'm fasting, and I've been pretty good at what I eat, but it's the fact that I eat as much as I do and the lateness in which I eat. And
Now let me ask you something. Yesterday, you got into a conversation about the left and the right,
mm,
and I'm wondering if you were able to solve any of those issues. Were you able to come to any resolution?
um, I don't know. No, I don't necessarily think so, but I see things differently than you, Joe. Um, I see that there is a left and right dichotomy in this country, and they want different things for this country. I think that there are factions. I mean, I think there's a difference between liberal and left.
Well, you can
Uh,
only see it in
Yes.
yourself. You can only see it in yourself. I'm not talking about you can't look at the world and say they look at it in left and right. How do you see it?
um, I see the world as a lot of different types of factions,
Mhm.
and some factions in this country, like within this country, not only within this country, but it seems like within the world, and the world that I inhabit, which is, I mean, America, and I mean, California, the city in which I live in, and then there is, America, and beyond America is primarily the thing that I'm concerned about is the Anglo sphere, the place that where my language is being spoken. There is an ideology out there uh, that doesn't have, I don't think, has intellectually popular support, but it has a lot of power behind it, and I find that to be very dangerous. And they're doing the same thing that they're doing with the subjects on justice and racial matters is the same thing that they're doing with these vaccine mandates and the COVID. They're acting in many ways in the same self-righteous and sanctimonious way, and it's restricting a lot of people's freedoms, and I don't think that was ever the intent of the internet. And social media is siding with people that silence, and
And
it's a thing.
I get that. I get that. It seems nuanced. It seems like a YouTube fueled division bell that you've struck. And from my perspective, this has all been part of an economic reset. It was a merger between corporations and government, and it's if the more you followed the economy, Brian, I think you would have a lot to gain perspective wise by immersing yourself in the functions, what's happening at the federal level in the economy. It is astounding. The economy is dead. It's complete. It's riddled with lies, and the transparency is shielded. There's hardly there's no merit left, and what we've come to is a point now where it's a done deal. The feds have basically committed to perpetually keep the stock market afloat by putting in hundreds and 400 million or $400 billion a month into the economy, and then they come out. The feds come out every week with a report, Brian. You should be on top of these reports. They'll come out with
the
a
one
prediction.
today.
Yes, I did. Absolutely. Look what's going on. The market should have corrections, Brian, but they don't have corrections anymore. The market's just been going up for 7 straight months. Look at all the.
Come on.
7
when
straight.
Trump was president, it did the same thing. We had the COVID. We had a lot of different stresses on the economy, and it does adjust. It's called a recession.
Come with facts, Angela. Come with facts. I'm talking about 7 straight months of gains, and the way it's happening is completely artificial. They came out Monday. They said, "Oh, we're going to have 500 to 600,000 new jobs." You watch, our economy is booming. And they came out today with the report this morning. Oh, sorry, we messed up. We only have 200,000 jobs. These are
But the unemployment rate has gone down, except
it has
for
not gone down. I don't know what report
one
you're
racial
reading.
category, which was the African American category.
There was a million new first-time unemployment people.
Here. Let's just stay calm.
A million new you don't know what you're talking about if you're saying that the unemployment numbers have gone down. That's absolutely not the case.
Except for one racial group, which is African Americans, the men, the women, and the young people.
That is,
it's actually gone up.
Okay, I'm not talking to you. You're being.
Well, no, that came from a report. That's today.
You're racist. You're racist, and none of this is. Show us.
Well, they brought it up. They brought it up, not me.
Show
it
us
has nothing to do with being a racist. I think it's unfortunate. It's horrible that one racial category has not.
I watch these reports every week. You don't know.
I think it exposes the country's racism if you look at it.
When was the last time you came in here and told us the unemployment numbers for the week?
Well, I mean, it's never really been up for topic when I've been on.
I do. I talk about it every week.
But that doesn't mean I'm on every time you talk about it.
You are never on when it comes to those numbers. You've never mentioned those numbers before.
Oh, yeah, because we talk about more relevant things.
They're down. You're saying
because if I listen to you, they're all fake anyway, right?
If you go to the Federal Reserve, if you go to
the Fed,
you don't need to go to me. You can go do your own research. You don't need to.
I don't go to you because you don't watch the news. You don't read all the reports. But in all fairness, I don't read all the reports either.
What are you talking about? That's all I do in the morning. That's what I do, Angela. I look at the reports every morning. This is what I do.
When did you become a stock transfer agent?
I'm not an agent. This is what I do in the morning. This is what I do. I look at the reports because I can.
Is this for yourself or do you have a new career that I don't know of?
I'm not sure if that has any bearing on reality whatsoever.
Well, it does to me because you have something more vested in it if it's your career.
This is becoming contentious.
It's not contentious. She doesn't know what she's talking about. What's she talking about?
Well, I mean, he's the one raising his voice.
Do you care?
I mean, I'm just over here being a female.
What? I doubt that very seriously. I have my doubts.
Oh God, gentlemen, please.
All right. Anyways.
Gentlemen. Okay. I'll go with gentlemen. Maybe I'll get more respect if I'm addressed as a gentleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, are people.
Thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
Get back. Okay. So the truth is, the future may bring unemployment. The future may bring economic catastrophe, is what Joe is saying. And how do we prepare mentally and physically? I mean, Joe, what would be your recommendation for if someone is just living off of public assistance and doesn't have a pot to piss in? What would be your recommendation for them?
At this point, I think anybody should do whatever they can to not be on on federal assistance. So there's
but what
one.
do you do if you are?
Well, what do you? Why am I Jesus here? I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. What do you do? You fight your way. You fight your way out of the bucket. You become.
No.
There's two things.
I can tell you exactly what you do. You do everything to save your resources, your money. You get a case of water. You go to an event, and outside you sell water. You sell it for $1 to $2 a bottle. Make a profit. Find something you can make a profit with. That's legal.
That's a great idea. That's what I was going to say, is that you become a sole proprietor. That is the only way to go in this world.
But there's limitations if a person's on, let's say, TANF, temporary aid to needy families. Mm-hmm. They have to report every single dollar that they make outside of what the government gives them. There's different ways to get ahead. Go to school. I mean, that even if it's a VOTech, sometimes that's less than a year to get different certifications. Those are things I would say. Really, selling the water, that's actually illegal if you're on TANF.
I'll say this. I mean, and what do you tell someone? Because, this whole pandemic, depression has gone through the roof. And social media is exacerbating that problem because I think that there's some of them are so dogmatic that your human body is welcome in these groups, but yourself and your ideas are not welcome. If your ideas go against what the mob believes or what the group believes, you are not welcome. So your human body may be welcome. You're human to say things like silence is violence and Black Lives Matter. But if you dissent, you're not welcome. Yourself, your human self, your mind, and your voice, if it dissents, is not welcome. And
well, those are all good points.
And what do we do to combat that? Because even people like me and Joe who want to hear dissenting opinions are not allowed to. I mean, because social media restricts some of the things that are said and done, and they're not trying to educate you. They're just trying to punish. I mean, cancel culture is not about re-education. It's about punishment.
No, I think it has to do with disgust. Because when you're disgusted with something, let's say you're disgusted with dirt. What do you do to that dirt? You get rid of them. Cancel culture is even worse. It's more pervasive. It's getting rid of entities. Whoever disgusts you, they want to get rid of. Concluded.
But human beings are not dirt. They're living, breathing, complex creatures.
But these people that practice cancel culture, they look at people or entities, businesses, what have you, as dirt, and they want to get rid of them. A lot of people don't like dirt. That's the reason why I use that as an example to get people to get it. This is what you're doing when you do cancel culture. You're disgusted with it, and you want to get rid of that person or entity. Where 10 years ago, that reaction, because it's not a response, it's a reaction, would not have been palpable. What do you think?
Well, you Angela, on this one, you hit the nail right on the head. They're treating human beings like dirt. They're treating dissenting, not as someone with different ideas. They are objectifying them and basically treating them as trash, as dirt, something you have to throw away. And
I'm sorry to cut you off, but the economic reports are probably the best indicators for where that's starting. What they're doing is they're crushing the middle class. There's going to be the recession, the rates that we're about to see are going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. Food prices are going to go crazy, and it's going to make a lot of people reliant on the government to help them out. I mean, it's the simplest way I can think of putting it. And when you do that, and when you have this big giant cesspool of people reliant on the government and living this standardized way of living, you're going to see a lot more of that. It's going to be a product, and I think and the crushing of the middle class has been on the move, and it's gonna get a lot worse, but it's disappearing if it's not already gone. So it's pretty disturbing to see.
Well,
The middle class is gone.
definitely in West Los Angeles, where I'm from, the home prices. I mean, West Los Angeles, there used to be, plumbers and nurses. They could combine their income together and buy a piece of property. That's not if you're a tradesman, you cannot afford a home in West Los Angeles today, and that is certainly an issue that we're not even looking at because we're sidetracked with all this. I don't think that there's some kind of master plan about that, but I think that I think the best way to fight it is nobility and also acceptance of human beings for who they are at the point. Not all human beings, but if you're on welfare, if you're on disability, I don't want to put those people down.
Brian, the master plan was for the Federal Reserve to own it all. It has been. That's what they're doing. They're buying all the debt, and they're also lending it out. They want to be the buyer and lender of last resort. And by doing
I'd much rather have the Fed own it than China, who owns a lot of our real estate. That really bothers me more. Does that bother you more, or the Fed?
Okay.
So they may all be working together, though.
Angela, we're talking about a merger of corporation and government. Everything is one. Corporations don't stop at
but we're talking boundaries. I'm talking about China and this financial glove that they have over our financials. If you look at them as testicles, they got us, and the Fed has its hand over our mouth. We could look at it that way, a visual way. I don't like either one.
Well, I mean, I think there definitely. Yeah. I mean, there is evidence that the big bankers and China are working.
It's all together,
and that may be.
Yeah, they have a common goal.
There is no Chinese boogeyman anymore.
That's a movement. When a large amount of people, like the bankers, have a common goal, that's a movement. When no one else's voice is heard within that movement, that's when it becomes a cult. And I see that in different factions. Life has changed so much, even in the area of health freedoms, where I have worked before, for parents to have a voice in their child's health care, to not have any vaccine mandates, because that is a medical procedure. And I think the parents should have a voice in that. That's changed a lot in the 10 years, this past 10 years. Like, I know you guys don't get on Facebook very much, but man, it's getting ugly. They're saying that the unvaccinated do not deserve any health care. If they chose not to get the vaccine, they shouldn't get any help, because there's people, and this is true, like heart anginas. I had a friend took their friend to Kansas City, and there wasn't a bed. They thought they could get the person into a bed. The person was in dire straits. That person died, and the reason why the ICU was full was because of COVID, and people are really angry, frustrated. They're afraid, more so than I've ever known people to be afraid in my short, very life. Concluded.
and this is really why censorship is really wrong and bad. I mean, like, where it's really, at this particular time, we are facing what could be what could be a medical crisis, and people can, if it's manufactured, let's see it. If it's real, then let's talk about it and discuss it. If a person believes that it's real, then what they're saying should absolutely stand up to their bootstraps. And instead of censoring, they should be talking with people and discussing the issue with people. Because right now, let's just be honest here, the establishment has lied, and they've made things worse. If there is a pandemic that's to be believed, and you want people to act a certain way, you don't lie to them. You don't act dishonestly to them. And there are several instances where there has been absolute and total dishonesty and gaslighting. And it's hard to put your trust. It's hard for many people to put their trust in that. That's why a lot of people aren't taking the vaccine. There are a lot of different reasons why people aren't taking the vaccine. But one of the main reasons is because people have lied so much about this issue. I don't know if anyone else has any comment on that, but that's what I'm observing.
I do have a comment on, can somebody start sharing the show? Just letting you know so that people can hear.
I have shared the show. I think I'm going to share it on Discord as well. Does anyone else have a comment?
Well, that was well said. I'll let Joe speak if he wishes.
All right. Anyways, yeah, no, we're good. Go on.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, just life is not what it used to be. And I think if people can appreciate other people's worldviews, different as they may be, and just let another person be in their belief system and not feel or be compelled to change them. I mean, some of these people out there are acting like religious zealots that, you must believe as I believe. I'll force you to believe as I believe. I'll brainwash you to believe the way I believe. And only thing I can say about that's incorrect. That's not what we've known to be. And maybe I'm being a zealot and just saying that that's not correct, but I don't know anyone that likes to be forced to believe in a belief system that they did not believe previously because of so much pressure. And we see it from the media, we see it from the government, we see it from our friends. And that's just wrong. Get new friends if that's happening. If they won't wake up. Just leave that circle. There's lots of different circles you can join. That's what I have to say. Concluded.
I saw this last year. People literally, like, what I observed was people turning almost into like pod people. Like, they were just, they were chanting mantras, and just like they were completely like they were in a cult. And Sam Harris says there's the cult of wokeism and then the cult of Trumpism, and they're both bad. But to me, the cult of wokeism has the establishment. Trumpism has to go behind the scenes, and it doesn't have the power of the establishment. And I find that people who are even in some of the cult of Trumpism are more likely to talk to you and discuss with you than those who are in the so-called woke cult. And these are the same people who are pushing the pro-vaccine, the vaccine mandates are part of the woke cult. I, for one, it's a hedge bet, but I've taken my vaccine. I've taken the 2 shots.
And that's your choice to take it or not. I would hope everybody would get a vaccine. Having had COVID myself, it's awful. And then, of course, there's the people that haven't made it. But I want to talk about being in a cult. You cannot have any differentiating. You can't have a view that's different from the cult. You can't have a thought. You can't speak that if it's different from that cult, because they'll find out and you'll be held responsible. And that's not a good experience for some people.
Yeah.
As far as the woke cult and the Trump cult, I don't see a difference in their approach. Now, the Trump cult factions of it, which my cousin's heavily into this cult. Well, I got a lot of family heavily into the cult. You know, they're straight up ugly. Others are more reasonable, but they're going to try to persuade you with every skill they have. So I concluded.
God, I was gonna just.
What was the point again? Anyways, listen, Brian.
Yeah.
This is an economic situation we're in. I don't know if you can hear this, but let me just play this for 2 seconds. Just listen. Tell me if you can hear it when I start it.
Big blowout number.
Can you hear it?
Our economy is so
Yes.
strong. So the number expected was 720,000 jobs added. Well, the real one is 235,000. You want to talk about a historic miss? This is outrageous. And it's no surprise to you. I mean, we
It's
just
not.
got this ADP number, this ADP jobs number the other day, another historic miss. Meanwhile, guess what? The unemployment rate came down. You can't make this stuff up. If you try to, I dare you. So people, this just plays into what you and I already know. Our economy here in the United States is beyond the free fall.
So this does confirm what Angela was saying too. The unemployment numbers came down. They were still over 300,000 new first-time unemployment applications. But if you look at what happened in August, we're just now in September. August had about 1 million first-time unemployment apps. They're telling us the economy is fine. It's doing great when it's not. We're getting reports of one thing. We're going to have 750,000 new jobs, and then they released that was their prediction. All right, these are supposedly the economic leaders of the country coming out and missing that number by 500,000. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. So I wanted.
There was the Delta variant. You have to factor that in.
The Delta variant, and now we have a new variant. We have the Brian, have you heard about the new variant?
No.
There's a new one, and it's been predicted many times.
I think Howard did too. Didn't he predict the new variant? Why don't we get him on here?
No, thank you. Look, we've all been predicting that, though, and we've all been saying they're going to continue to roll out new variants until it's just a complete.
Well, that's a no-brainer, Joe. I mean, look at the flu. There's a new variant every year, and it's different from region to region. But this COVID, it's much more contagious than the flu.
If you believe in such a thing.
Thank you for letting me interrupt.
It's an economic disaster.
The only thing I can think of doing for me is striving to do my best. I pray. My inner strength is there. And I owe it to those who came before me, who built these great cities, who built a great country that I'm in, to do my best, to work my hardest, and to give my all at whatever I'm doing to the best of my ability. Reminding myself that perfection is the enemy of progress. So I don't work for perfection. I work to do my best each day, doing maybe 1% better each day. And other than that, I mean, and I've been hearing about economic collapse since I was a child. My father used to talk about that. My father would talk about they're going to make the dollar red or whatever, and that may very well be true. What I can do about it, maybe protect myself economically. I may make some moves, but at the end of the day, I think if it will make us better if we have human connection to noble, good people, and start striving. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And one other thing I'd like to add for people who are struggling at that lower level, because these are people. They're not just numbers that are released every month. These are people. Every one of those included in those releases. And I do struggle with, like, how does somebody make a change? And from my perspective, you gotta understand where I'm coming from here. Even if you have $25 extra a month, you buy something that is tangible, like an ounce of silver is about $25, artificially held down at $25 an ounce. And if everybody was able to pick up some silver, for example, every month, they would become their own central bank in a way. You fight against
Well
all this
said.
debt madness by hoarding
Even
something
PayPal.
tangible.
Joe, I had to add this just so when you talk to people, I know you talk to a lot of people. PayPal, you can even get stocks on PayPal. You can get Bitcoin with Venmo. There's options out there for people who do not have a traditional bank. If you're going to talk to the lower pay people, or even what used to be known as a middle class, have lost their bank accounts due to debt.
Good point. I mean, there's people struggling at every level. We get it. It's not just about money, but this has really it's made things difficult. Maybe Brian and I will do some sort of fundraiser, and I think we should try and do that, where we can kind of work together, and people there have assets like cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of cash out there. People need to use it for things they believe in, and not wait for the government to do it for them. That's the worst case scenario, in my opinion. And waiting on a crypto or a digital dollar to take over for the dollar, I don't know if that'll ever happen either. But I think a lot of what's happening right now with a stock market that's going up, while there's an economic decline, it only leads to one thing, and that's control over everything. And the day that we accept a crypto as our only currency and not a hard asset like the dollar, or which is a dying thing. Nobody wants to invest in the dollar anymore. But cryptocurrency is a decentralized investment, something you own. And I recommend it, because you could start with $5 a month. You could start with $1 a month, really, to start investing in crypto.
Well, on Venmo, it can be $1, and PayPal now as well. But for people that are under the age of 18, they can get a youth account. Maybe they have a savings account at a local bank. They can take that savings account and go to a broker, and there's a way where it doesn't cost as much if they're under 18 to invest in different stocks or mutuals, things like that. That might be a great show, in my opinion. Concluded.
Well, again, we're certainly looking. I mean, we are in unprecedented territory as far as this disease. I have different, maybe, beliefs on how we process it, but for me, I think striving to be hardworking and noble, and examining as much of the facts as I humanly possibly can. That, however, doesn't mean that I'm not going to make mistakes, and others aren't going to make mistakes. But I think, like I've said before, I owe it to those who came before me, who made this nation what it is, to work as hard as I can, to be as diligent as I can. When I'm on the job, I want to do the best job that I can where I work. And when I'm here, I want to do the best that I can here. And whatever I do, I primarily want to do the best. And I want to think of my health and my general well-being. And I think others want that as well, particularly as we grow older. And there are people face unique problems. There was a straight pride parade that was in Modesto. And I don't know if that's a good idea to have a Pride Month, but my thing is heterosexuals face unique problems. Heterosexual males face unique problems, and heterosexual females face unique problems. And right at this moment, we can't necessarily talk about those issues. Heterosexual females can, but heterosexual males, not so much. And to talk about the unique problems that they face. And again, I think I will start doing an economics show with Joe at least once a week, just to see where we are going economically, just as the future and what that basically brings. And because that, I like Joe believe that an economic catastrophe is far more likely than an ecological catastrophe. Right now, we are having a health catastrophe in this country that seems to be speeding up the economic catastrophe. And as we talked about, years before, like particularly in West Los Angeles, the average person could buy a home. And I think the average person's not going to be able to buy a home anymore. And the next thing he won't be able to afford is an automobile. You owning a car, the average American being able to own a car will be a thing of the past. People will say, I remember when cars were this amount of money. Cars are going to go through the roof, and only the super wealthy are going to own their own personal automobile. And the rest will, go on Uber and Lyft, and they'll be just taken by driverless cars, but you will not have the freedom to own an automobile. That may be coming. And
well, that's already here. I mean, I've been looking at the prices of used cars, and last year, maybe it was earlier last year, I did the same thing. They're about $1,000 to $2,000 more. What you could get a good used car just to run to work and back for $2,000 now costs $3,500. It's already here. And if you go to the car lots, they pay quite a bit of money for used cars because they can't get the new cars. All they have to sell are the used cars. And I wanted to say the work of a diligent man, as noted in the Proverbs. But I want to do a little bit of housekeeping, if you don't mind. If you're listening to this podcast and you identify with some of the statements that are being said, please hit the like button and do them a really big favor by clicking the notification bell, subscribe, and you'll be notified of any upcoming podcasts. There is a wealth of topics on here, and I understand there's going to be some merch available in the near future. So stay tuned by clicking the subscribe button, hitting like, and ringing that notification bell. Thank you for listening. And now back to the program. Concluded.
Well, thank you, Angela. With that, I think I will end the show unless Joe wants to continue it. But I think we've exhausted the point of everything we have to say. But
go to Transparency and Merit. We have shirts on sale there, and 50% of all proceeds for our shirt sales this month will go to Angela.
All right. Anyway, guys.
Thank you.
Anyway, guys. Yeah, we'll end this show. Like, subscribe. Hey, even if you can, possibly even share the show on some of your social media things. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I I allowed my anger to get the better of me. I didn't do anything that was vicious, but I put out topics that people didn't necessarily want to hear. And if I had it to do over again, I would have done it a different way. I still believe in what I say, but it's my approach that was wrong. So on that,
Well, it
so
wasn't that it was wrong, it was not appreciated.
no, yeah, that's true. But you got to go where you're appreciated, and you got to go
Yes.
be thought of. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. This is still my second day of fasting. I feel a lot better and a lot more healthy. And people should really think about their health. We have an obesity problem going on in this country and perhaps throughout the developed world. And we have to rethink the way we deal with food, because food can also be used as a drug. And I think overeating is an even bigger problem than our drugs. But with that being said, like I said, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thank you all. Those few people that do listen, I do thank you for listening.